I never thought I'd end up hog-tying a corporate exec in her own walk-in closet with her own Hermes scarves. But that's exactly what I did to Karen Whitaker when she crossed the line one too many times. It started with a single phone call to the cops, her manicured finger jabbing 911 like it was the undo button on her perfect life, reported my wife as a suspicious foreign operative just because she dared to show up at our HOA potluck with a faint accent and a suitcase that smelled like saffron and gun oil. Little did that Botox-frozen bitch know, my wife, Layla, wasn't smuggling spices. She was fresh off a black site op in Tehran, coordinating arms deals that kept half the free world from going dark. By the time the cruiser screeched into our cul-de-sac, tires kicking up Bermuda grass clippings like confetti at a funeral, I'd already mapped out every skeleton in Karen's designer closet, starting with the offshore accounts she'd been laundering through her charity, wine fundraisers. But revenge isn't a sprint. It's a suburbia-style siege, slow burn, and neighborly on the surface, until the foundations crack and the whole facade comes tumbling down in a heap of subpoenas and small claims court tears. Those first 3 minutes after Layla's tires crunched over the HOA-mandated pea gravel driveway felt like eternity stretched on a rack. I'd been flipping burgers on the Weber, the sizzle masking the low hum of a rental car's engine as she pulled up, her dark hair whipping in the breeze like a victory flag after 3 months undercover. "Missed you, Habibi," she murmured, sliding out with that effortless grace that always made my knees weak, her cargo pants dusted from the flight, eyes scanning the block like it was hostile territory. That's when Karen materialized from behind her azalea hedge like a step-forward wives reject on steroids. Blonde bob-helmeted, Lululemon ensemble screaming, "I own this zip code," and launched in her tirade without so much as a hello. "Who the hell are you?" Karen barked, her voice slicing through the chatter of our neighbors nursing their IPAs. "This is a private event. We don't allow solicitors, or whatever that bag is. Looks like it's full of contraband." Layla froze mid-step, her hand instinctively dropping to her hip where her holster would be if she weren't in civvies, and I swear I saw the flicker of a dozen kill shots cross her mind before she clocked the pearl-clutching busybody for what she was. A garden-variety Karen, weaponized by white wine and a corner office at Whitaker Wellness. The kind of mid-tier supplement empire that peddled kale smoothies to soccer moms while dodging FDA probes. I stepped forward, spatula in hand like a white knight sword, but Karen was already on her phone, live-streaming the confrontation to her 5K Instagram followers. HOA safety first, naturally. "Everyone look at this. Some woman's just waltzed in here like she owns the place, fresh off a plane from God knows where. Iran? Yeah, I smelled it. Spices and trouble. Calling the authorities now because no one's safety is worth risking for a backyard barbecue." The words hit like buckshot, neighbors murmuring, a few pulling out their own phones, the air thickening with that uniquely American blend of voyeurism and virtue signaling. Layla's jaw tightened, her fingers twitching toward the duffel that held not just her civilian clothes, but an encrypted drive with intel that could topple regimes. And I knew right then, this wasn't just rudeness. This was war, HOA edition, and Karen had just fired the first shot. The cops arrived faster than an Amazon drone. 2 uniforms from the local PD, badges glinting under the string lights, who took one look at Layla's olive skin and the faint henna tattoo peeking from her sleeve and defaulted to protocol. "Hands up, ma'am. Step away from the vehicle." "Routine check," one grunted, while the other eyed her bag like it was Pandora's trunk. I could see the headlines forming in their heads. Post 9/11 playbook on autopilot, and it took every ounce of my freelance graphic designer's chill not to deck the lot of them. Layla, bless her, played it cool, flashing her federal creds from a slim wallet that screamed, "Don't fuck with me," more than any tin star ever could. "ATF Special Agent Layla Nasser," she said, voice steady as a sniper's breath, returning from authorized ops. "You want to verify? Call the director's line. It's programmed in." The officers blanched, one fumbling for his radio while the other shot Karen a side-eye that said, "Lady, you just stepped in it." But Karen? She doubled down, chin jutting like she'd invented entitlement. "This is my neighborhood. I pay dues, top-tier platinum. Thank you very much. And I say she's a threat. Look at her. She's got that. Look, and that bag reeks of terrorism. The word hung there, toxic as Roundup on her prize-winning petunias, and the potluck dissolved into a circus. Aunt Mildred from down the block clutching her rosary. Tech bro Chad, live tweeting Karen versus Karen. And me? I was already plotting, my phone recording every pearl she dropped, because in suburbia, the real weapons aren't guns. They're Google searches and group chats. By the time the cops slunk away, tails between their legs, after a hushed call from D.C., the damage was done. Layla retreated inside, shoulders slumped for the first time I'd seen since we met at that dive bar in Quantico, where she'd outshot every jarhead in the room. It's fine, she lied, pouring us both Scotch neat, but I knew better. This was America 2025, land of the free, home of the algorithm-fueled outrage machine. And Karen Whitaker had just doxed my wife's soul for a few likes. I spent that night not sleeping, but scrolling. Karen's LinkedIn, CEO, mother of 2 golden retrievers and 1 trust fund toddler. Her Yelp reviews, 5 stars for everything except that one barista who ruined her latte. And deeper, the whispers on Glassdoor about Whitaker Wellness's aggressive sales tactics bordering on pyramid scheme. Revenge? Hell yes. But first, reconnaissance. Because if Layla could dismantle cartels from a safe house in the desert, I could dismantle a diva from my iMac in the den. The next morning, over coffee black as my mood, Layla laid it out plain. Don't. She's not worth the paperwork. But I was already knee-deep, firing off an anonymous tip to the HOA board about Karen's unauthorized fountain installation. Turns out, those Tuscan tiles violated Covenant 7.2 on water features. Petty? Sure. But it was the appetizer. The main course would come later, when I uncovered the real rot. Her company's supplements weren't just overpriced kale dust. They were laced with unregulated stimulants, shipped from shady suppliers who'd make a Tehran arms dealer blush. And the kicker? She'd been skimming HOA funds for community enhancements that only benefited her cul-de-sac castle. By noon, I drafted the first email blast to the board. CCNG every busybody in the zip code, framed as a concerned neighbor's inquiry. The replies flooded in, shock emojis, forwarded chain letters, and one from Old Man Hargrove promising to bring this up at the next quorum. Karen's backlash started subtle, a passive-aggressive next-door post about false accusations from jealous outsiders. But I smelled blood. I ramped it up, posing as a disgruntled ex-employee on Reddit's r/scams, spilling just enough insider tea to get her trending locally. Karen Kalegate. Comments poured in, vicious and viral. This which sold me pills that turned my IBS into a war zone. Saw her yelling at the landscaper last week. Classic NPD. Layla watched from the couch, half amused, half worried, her fingers tracing the scar on her knuckles from a knife fight in Fallujah. You're playing with fire, Jake, she warned, but there was a spark in her eye, the same one that lit when she briefed her team on a high-risk sting. We were in it now, a tag team takedown, and as the first subpoenas hit her inbox by week's end, I toasted to the chaos, to Karens everywhere. May your Chardonnays turn to vinegar. But suburbia fights dirty, and Karen wasn't going down without claw-out. She lawyered up fast, some ambulance chaser from the country club set, and countersued the HOA for defamation, dragging half the block into depositions that felt like a bad episode of Real Housewives. I sat through mine stone-faced, reciting my script about overheard conversations at the pool, while inside, my pulse hammered like a .45 Magnum. The controversy swelled. Local news picked it up, a fluff piece on Channel 7 about neighborhood feud turns ugly, with Karen teary-eyed on camera, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed hanky. I'm just trying to protect our community, she whimpered, and half the viewers bought it, flooding her GoFundMe with pity bucks. The other half, they smelled the scam, and my anonymous accounts fanned the flames. Deep dives in her SEC filings, photoshopped memes of her face on a pyramid of green powder cans. Layla pulled strings quietly. Nothing flashy, just a nudge to a buddy at the FDA who happened to audit Whitaker Wellness's supply chain. The results leaked online before the ink dried. Contaminants, false labeling, the works. Karen's stock plummeted, metaphorically, since her empire was bootstrapped on daddy's real estate money, and her Instagram went radio silent, bio updated to on hiatus, family first. I should have stopped there, called a win, but the betrayal burned deeper. See, this wasn't just about the call. It was the casual racism, the assumption that Layla, U.S. Marine vet, Persian-American powerhouse, was the outsider in her own home. We'd bought this split level in Evergreen Heights for the schools, the safety, the American Dream 2.0, only for Karen to weaponize it all. As fall leaves turned the gutters gold, the backlash peaked at the HOA Halloween bash. Karen showed up in a Marie Antoinette getup. Irony lost on her, flanked by her lawyer like a shield maiden squire. She cornered me by the cider press, breath hot with Merlot. You think you're clever, Jake? That little witch hunt of yours? I'll bury you in legal fees. Her eyes were wild, foundation cracking like her facade, and for a split second, I pitied her, the hollow empire, the husband who golfed more than he parented. But then I remembered Layla's face in the cruiser lights, and pity evaporated. Bury me? I chuckled, low and mean. Sweetheart, I'm just getting started. Ever hear of RICO statutes? Your wellness retreats smell like money laundering from a mile away. She blanched, wig slipping a fraction, and stormed off to harangue the caterer about gluten-free options for the peasants. That night, as jack-o'-lanterns flickered on porches, I dropped the bomb. A packet to the U.S. Attorney's Office, pieced together from public records and Layla's off-the-books access to financial trackers. It wasn't revenge. It was justice, wrapped in a bough of schadenfreude. But as sirens wailed faintly in the distance, not for us this time, Layla curled against me in bed, whispering, "Proud of you, but promise me, no more capes." I promised, fingers crossed behind my back, because in the heartland of HOA hell, heroes don't wear capes. They wear hoodies and wield spreadsheets. Winter clamped down on Evergreen Heights like a bad ex refusing to ghost, blanketing the McMansions in a crust of snow that muffled screams but amplified suspicions. Karen's countersuit dragged on, turning every board meeting into a gladiatorial arena where she'd strut in with armfuls of depositions, her voice a whip-cracking accusations. This man, this nobody designer, has orchestrated a smear campaign to undermine our community's values. The board, a gaggle of retirees and remote workers too spineless to rock the boat, hemmed and hawed, but the tide was turning. My emails had multiplied, forwarded by allies I'd cultivated over backyard fences. Mrs. Patel from accounting, who hated Karen's exclusive yoga classes, the widower Jenkins, whose mailbox she'd reported for aesthetic violations. I played it coy, showing up to meetings in my best dad jeans, nodding sympathetically while slipping USBs under seats loaded with Karen's digital dirt. One file in particular was gold. Emails from her exec assistant, poached via a fake job listing on Indeed, detailing kickbacks from supplement suppliers tied to opioid mills in Appalachia. It's not illegal if it's wellness. One read, signed with a winky emoji that made my stomach turn. Layla reviewed it over takeout falafel, her ATF badge glinting under the kitchen pendant. Solid work, cowboy. But if this blows back, you're on cleanup. Her tone was light, but her eyes, those hazel storms, held the weight of ops gone sideways, friends lost to friendly fire. I kissed her temple, tasting salt and resolve. Won't happen. This is my sandbox now. The controversy ignited like dry tinder at a MAGA rally. Local podcasters caught wind. Some true crime hack with a beard like a Brillo pad devoted an episode to the Kale Queen conspiracy, interviewing anonymous sources, me, voice-modded, who painted Karen as a suburban Madoff in stilettos. Listens spiked, and suddenly our quiet cul-de-sac was a pilgrimage site for rubberneckers snapping pics of her wrought iron gate, spray-painted overnight with "fake it till you fraud it." Karen retaliated with cease and desists mailed to half the block, but it only fueled the fire. One landed in my box, typed on crane stationery, threatening all remedies at law and equity. I framed it in the garage, next to Layla's collection of seized cartel knives. Backlash hit her where it hurt. The wallet. Whitaker Wellness's stock, traded on that sketchy OTC board, tanked 40% after a whistleblower, guess who, tipped off Bloomberg. Headlines screamed CEO under fire. Supplements or scams? And her board jumped ship faster than rats from a Botox barge. She hosted an emergency transparency town hall at the community center, live on Zoom for her dwindling fan base, tears streaming as she clutched a green juice like a lifeline. I've poured my heart into this, empowering women one smoothie at a time. This persecution, it's un-American. The chat exploded, supporters decrying woke cancel culture, detractors dredging up her old DUIs and that messy divorce where she'd accused her ex of emotional Ponzi. I watched from my laptop, popcorn in hand, as the outrage crested, picket lines at her HQ, a class-action suit brewing in the comments. But Karens don't crumble easy, they claw. She pivoted to victimhood, launching Justice for Karen on TikTok, dolled up in cashmere with soft-focus filters, recounting her trauma from the potluck ambush. That woman, your wife, Jake, she looked at me like I was the enemy. In my own home, views climbed into the millions, algorithms loving the drama, and suddenly, I was the villain. Trolls doxing my freelance gigs, fake reviews tanking my Upwork profile. One night, as snow pelted the windows, my phone buzzed with a blocked number. You win this round, but I'll make sure your little jihadi wife never sleeps easy again. Her voice, slurred and venomous, hung up before I could trace it. Layla found me pacing the kitchen, fist-balled. Harassment charge? She suggested, but I shook my head. Nah, time to escalate. That's when I went nuclear. Partnering with a PI buddy from Layla's academy days, we dug into her charity arm, the Whitaker Foundation for Women's Wellness. On paper, it funneled grants to shelters. Off, it was a slush fund for European jaunts and yacht parties with lobbyists who'd greased FDA palms. We leaked it to ProPublica, framed as a community watchdog submission, and the story dropped like a smart bomb. Suburban CEO's sham charity exposed. Karen's empire imploded overnight. Sponsors bolted. Her TEDx talk got yanked, and the feds, courtesy of Layla's quiet vouch, opened a mail fraud probe. She lashed out in a frantic email to the AHO, a listserv. This is terrorism, economic terrorism, perpetrated by radicals in our midst. The radicals line? A dog whistle that backfired spectacularly, earning her a slap from the board and a viral clapback from the NAACP chapter. Bucksuck outrage boiled over at the Holiday Lights contest. Karen, ever the showboat, had decked her eaves in synchronized LED synced to Jingle Bells, but midway through judging, the display shorted out in a shower of sparks. My doing, a tampered extension cord courtesy of a helpful neighbor. As firefighters hosed it down, she stood in the slush, screaming at the sky. Sabotage. It's him. It's always been him. The crowd, 200 strong, eggnog-fueled, turned on her like a pack. Chants of resign. Resign! Echoing off the icicles. I blended into the throng, arm around Layla in a Santa hat, her laughter muffled against my scarf. But victory tasted bittersweet. This wasn't just payback. It was unmasking the rot we'd all ignored. The casual bigotries baked into block parties and covenants. The way America chews up dreamers like Layla and spits out suspects. As January thawed into mud season, the indictments landed. Wire fraud, tax evasion, the charity charade. Karen's mugshot made the post. Pouty lips parted in shock, no filter to save her. She skipped bail, holing up in her lake house upstate, but not before one last swing. A libel suit against me, filed pro SE in a fit of delusion. I countersued for the harassment call, attaching the recording, and watched her case crumble under its own weight. Layla and I celebrated with shawarma from that halal spot in Dearborn she'd missed, toasting to the end of an era. But as we drove home through slushy streets, her hand in mine, I wondered, had I become a monster? The spreadsheets, the leaks, they felt righteous, but the thrill? That was Karen's poison, seeping in. Spring bloomed with cherry petals and cherry-picked justice. The trial was a circus. Karen in Chanel, suits 2 sizes too tight. Her lawyer a slickster who'd plea bargained worse. I testified clean, facts only, but her cross-exam was a spectacle. Mr. Ramirez, isn't it true you're married to a government operative with ties to foreign entities? Motive for vendetta? The judge sustained objections left and right, but the seed was planted, jurors whispering about deep state BS. Layla sat in the gallery, stone-faced, her presence a silent fuck you. When the verdict dropped, guilty on all counts, 5 years plus restitution, Karen's wail echoed through the courthouse like a banshee's dirge. Yet even handcuffs couldn't chain Karen's chaos. From county lockup, she orchestrated a media blitz, op-eds in the local rag decrying feminist persecution by woke husbands and their exotic spouses. The narrative twisted. Me, the puppet master, Layla, the shadowy influence, Karen, the martyr for traditional values. It sparked a firestorm. Fox News soundbites, blue-check Twitter wars, petitions to free Karen circulating at megachurches. Outrage crested in waves. Her supporters firebombing, metaphorically, my inbox with death threats, while detractors hailed me as a folk hero, crowd funds pouring in for HOA warriors. I ignored the noise, focusing on rebuilding, landing a gig designing apps for a startup in Austin, flirting with the idea of a fresh start where covenants were optional. But betrayal's bite lingers, and Karen's final play cut deepest. Turns out, during her victim phase, she'd charmed a juror, post-trial drinks at a dive, spinning tales of my obsession. It surfaced in an ethics probe, tampered deliberations, a hung jury rumor quashed too late. The case retried, lighter sentence, house arrest, community service mopping the very community center she'd poisoned. Justice delayed. The DA shrugged over coffee, but to me, it reeked of privilege's parachute. Layla, ever the pragmatist, shrugged it off. Systems are broken, babe. We chipped the rust. That's progress. Still, the injustice festered, a low hum under our domestic bliss. Date nights at Olive Garden, weekend hikes in the Smokies, her ops pulling her away less as she had a desk job and training. The real backlash hit Karen like karma's boomerang. House arrest turned her into a pariah. Neighbors ghosting her block parties. Her empowered women circle dissolving into whispers of don't associate. She took to Substack, penning screeds titled From CEO to Convict. How cancel culture killed the American dream. Each post a rambling manifesto blending Ayn Rand with QAnon fever dreams. Subscribers trickled in, grievance junkies mostly, but the platform yanked her after doxing enemies, me included. Broke and bitter, she downsized to a condo in the burbs' fringes, her golden retrievers rehomed, toddlers shuttled to ex-hubby's McMansion. I caught glimpses on LinkedIn, profile pic faded, endorsements drying up, status updates pleading for consulting gigs and personal branding. Bucksuck peaked that summer at the county fair, corn dogs and tractor pulls masking the mundane malice. Karen, ankle monitor chafing under capris, manned a booth for her rebranded line, Whitaker Redemption Juices, forged in fire, flavored with grace. I wander by with Layla, her arm looped in mine, both of us in shades and smirks. She spotted us, face crumpling like cheap tissue. "You," she hissed, abandoning her pitcher of green sludge to lunge across the folding table. "You ruined everything. My kids, they call me the jailbird mom now." Happy. The words cracked, raw and ragged, and for a heartbeat, the fair's din faded. The carousel's tinny tune, the sizzle of funnel cakes, leaving just her unfiltered, a woman hollowed by her own hubris. Layla stepped up, voice steel wrapped in silk. "Ruined? You called the cops on me, profiled me like a criminal in my home. For what? A whiff of cardamom? That's not ruin, Karen. That's consequence." Karen's retort died on her lips, eyes darting to the gathering crowd. Phones out, that viral itch twitching. I could have walked away, let the moment dissolve in a hay-scented air, but the pent-up fury, the nights Layla jolted awake from nightmares of checkpoints, the therapy bills from her routine airport pat-downs, demanded more. "You want to talk happy?" I said, low enough for only us three. "Try burying friends who didn't make it back from your husband's forever wars. all while fighting to prove you're not the enemy here. You didn't just call cops. You called out every brown face in this country. Own it. She deflated, slumping against a hay bale, tears carving tracks through her bronzer. I was scared. The news, the borders, it's everywhere. I thought I was protecting. Her voice trailed, the excuse as flimsy as her empire's ledgers. The crowd murmured, a mix of nods and eye rolls, and a teen with a TikTok rig captured it all. Karen confesses trending by dusk. Backlash swift. Her booth mobbed by hecklers. Juices dumped in the dirt. Fair security escorting her out amid chants of own your shit. It was the bitter pill she couldn't swallow. Not defeat, but exposure. The mask of entitlement stripped bare for the world to gawk at. We left the fair dusted in powdered sugar. Layla's head on my shoulder as fireworks popped overhead. You good? She asked, and I was mostly. The revenge arc had looped back, leaving scars but no shackles. Karen's fall wasn't triumphant. It was tragic, a cautionary tale whispered over fences. Don't profile the wrong badass. Her updates went dark after that. Rumors swirling of a breakdown, a stint in one of those wellness retreats she used to hawk. Me? I channeled the chaos into a podcast, Cul-de-sac Crusaders, spinning yarns of petty wars and bigot busts, with Layla as guest zero. Listeners ate it up, the American itch for underdog epics scratched raw. Yet the controversy lingered, a shadow at our barbecues. Neighbors who cheered from afar now eyed Layla with awkward deference. Agent Nasser, huh? Badass. And I fielded invites to speak at diversity trainings, my graphic skills repurposed for anti-bias infographics. It bonded us tighter, that shared siege. Lazy Sundays with her teaching me knife throws in the backyard, me whipping up kubita that'd make her Tehran grandma proud. But late nights, when ops called her away, I'd scroll old threads, Karen's ghost account liking conspiracy reels, and wonder if the cycle spun on. America, after all, breeds Karens like mosquitoes in a marsh. Entitled, itchy, impossible to eradicate. As autumn crisped the leaves again, a manila envelope thudded onto our porch. No stamp, just Karen's loopy script. Truce? Inside, a check. Restitution rerouted, enough to fund Layla's nonprofit for vet spouses. And a note. I was wrong. Therapy's a bitch. Don't become me. I burned it in the fire pit, ashes swirling like absolution denied. Forgiveness? Maybe someday. But trust? That died with her 911 dispatch, buried under the weight of what-ifs and warrants. The bitter end crept in with Thanksgiving frost, turkey carcasses picked clean and regrets stuffed like yams. Karen's truce lingered unspoken, a specter at our feast were Layla's cousin from L.A., a screenwriter with a nose for drama, probed for the real dirt. We glossed it, toasting instead to survival, but the story had metastasized, Netflix sniffing for a docuseries, my podcast spiking to top, 50 true crime. Fame's a fickle friend. Autograph hounds at the grocery, tabloid whispers of strained marriage after one of Layla's deployments. We weathered it, hunkering in our split-level fortress, but the outrage engine hummed on, churning fresh fuel from Karen's silence. She resurfaced in spring, gaunt and grayless, at a restorative justice circle, some touchy-feely program mandated by her plea deal. I got roped in as the victim advocate, showing up in khakis to a rec center ring by folding chairs and herbal teas. There she sat, cross-legged in hemp pants, eyes downcast as the facilitator droned about empathy mapping. Where her turn came, she faltered. I projected my fears onto you, Layla. The news cycle, my ex's rants, it poisoned me. I'm sorry. Truly. The words landed soft, stripped of spin, and Layla, ever the operator, nodded once, crisp as a salute. Apology accepted. Now do the work. No hugs, no tears, just closure, American style, efficient, edged. But Karen's rebound, and hers was a doozy. Post-circle, she channeled the awakening into a pivot, reparative wellness, a coaching gig for formerly problematic execs, her Substack reborn as from bigot to better. It niched hard, grifting the guilty with $500 Zoom sessions on unlearning microaggressions, and damned if it didn't pop off among Silicon Valley bros seeking redemption arcs. Profiles gushed. Karen Whitaker, the anti-Karen revolution. I gagged over my Cheerios, but Layla? She laughed, dark and delighted. Let her hustle, long as she stays in her lane. The final twist soured Summer's heat wave. A client sued, claiming her coaching triggered breakdown, and the depots dug up old bones. My leaks twisted into extortionate sabotage. Karen countersued, not me directly, but the Circle's nonprofit, dragging our names back into the muck. Outrage reignited. Karen Comeback Kid versus Not So Fast. X-Threads dissecting her growth like a frog in bio class. I testified again, wearier this time, facts fraying at the edges from repetition. The judge tossed it, frivolous. She sneered, but the toll mounted. Layla's promotion stalled by optics, my gigs drying as clients whispered troublemaker. Bucksuck boiled to a froth at the HOA's annual luau. Tiki torches and my ties masking the malice. Karen crashed it, uninvited, in a moo-moo that screamed, "I'm healed, bitches," hawking business cards by the luau pit. She beelined for us, smile stretched thin. "Jake, Layla, water under the bridge? Join my mastermind? First session free." Layla's retort was poetry. "Pass. We're good without your green juice gospel." Karen's facade cracked, lips quivering, hands fluttering like startled doves. But I changed. The Circle, the therapy, it's real. The plea hung, desperate, and the crowd hushed, sensing the denouement. I could have let it slide, but the years grind. The threats, the therapy copays, the way her echoes still haunted Layla's homecomings, demanded punctuation. Changed? Sure. But actions echo, Karen. You dialed up our worst day for clout. Enjoy your masterminds. Just keep a micro. She recoiled as if slapped, murmurs rippling. Oof, savage, a smattering of claps. Security, hired after my podcast fame, escorted her out, tiki skirt swishing like a surrender flag. By midnight, it was viral. Luau takedown, her brand torched anew. The denouement dragged into fall, leaves rotting underfoot like unresolved grudges. Karen shuttered reparative wellness amid the suit, settled out of court, NDA sealed, and vanished to Sedona, chasing crystals and kundalini yoga. Whispers trickled back. A breakdown, a memoir ghostwritten and pulped, her kid asking why mommy's famous for being mean. Bitter? Yeah, for her, the dream deferred to detox retreats. For us, a scarred but standing life. Layla got her desk posting, training rookies on cultural ops. I inked a book deal, Suburban Siege, Taming the HOA Beast. As snow dusted the eaves once more, we hosted our own potluck. No covenants, just potlucks past invited. Patel samosas, Jenkins jerky, Chad's craft brews. Laughter rang freer, ghosts exorcised, but I caught Layla staring at the driveway, sometimes shadows of cruisers in her eyes. Worth it? I asked one night, tangled in sheets. She smiled, fierce and faded. Every spreadsheet. You. I pulled her close. Every damn one. In the end, no hog-tying in closets. Just the slow unravel of empire by email, the sweet sting of sorry not sorries. America chewed us all, but we spat back. Layla with her creds, me with my clicks, Karen with her caveats. And in that cul-de-sac circle, the real ops played on. Neighbors nodding over fences, wary but warmer, one Karen's folly at a time.